Good morning, everybody. What's going on here? Louis Bento, your integration pal, here, wanting to just check in and wish you all a good day. Hope you're feeling well. Hope you're taking care of yourself and the loved ones around you. If you're a loner, that's cool too. So that's kind of a little bit of a hint into what this video is about. We talk a lot about overcoming challenges here, your integration of your highest potential, overcoming trauma, mental health challenges, things like that. So along that path, we've all tried a lot of different things. I sure have. My path is a very long and multifaceted one. I've talked about before, but I mean, basically, I tried everything to get better. In the very beginning, it was, conventional conventional Western pharmaceutical drugs. Just doing what society tells you think you should do for your mental health, and we all want to get better. So if something doesn't work, we want to try something else. So I went down the path of things like meditation and psychedelics and Reiki, energy work. I'm an energy worker, and I believe in that stuff. I sure do. Psychedelics. The other kind of spiritual experiences I had too, from like a near-death experience when I was in my early 20s. These things were, I guess, what many call catalysts. They help kickstart your healing, your growth, your journey of self-discovery. And they certainly did do that for me. They kickstarted my journey in a great way. They gave me a glimpse. They give you a roadmap, so to speak. Seeing a therapist might be it for some. I didn't have the kind of money or good health insurance to see a therapist, so my path was therapy, self therapy through journaling, through psychedelics, through integration parts work, the integration pillar process I came up with. All of that stuff is nice and helpful and a complement to what I'm going to get to in this video as to what the kind of more powerful integration thing you can focus on. It's something that's really necessary. It's very difficult, but very impactful. It's what will kind of help seal the deal and solidify your new beliefs, your new views, your new perspectives on life, your new goals, your higher self, and so on. So what that is the new communication styles and the new perspectives, the new interactions in the moment on the third dimension in Earth that you have with other humans, your relational dynamics. Now, many of us, including myself, had, especially if you had trauma, it is very much embedded into the way that you relate with others in the world and yourself. Everybody goes through this to some level, to some degree. Now, whether or not everybody's aware of it, or whether or not everybody even knows what these interactions means, that's another topic. But very early on, I started to learn what this integration thing even means and how to navigate through it, how to apply it. And one of the most powerful integration tools that you can do is just bringing all these newfound perspectives and awarenesses into your communication with others. And it is hard, dude, or dudettes. It is. It certainly is, but it is very rewarding. It will help solidify the new you. Now, how do we do this? Let me give you an example from my own personal story, my own journey. So I had a lot of anger at others. I have my own trauma story, of course, and I'll save the whole story for another time. I've said it before if you've heard it, but it made it so I was angry at my past, angry at some people in my past. A lot of times it's close people to us, right? Like our family members and so on. And this had me be angry at, uh, I guess you could say, women for a while. Not all women, but when I would get close to women and relationships and so on, I would start to feel like they were manipulating me and had an evil agenda to just like kind of take advantage of me. Because when I was a kid, I felt like that was happening to me too. I was taken advantage of in a couple of ways. So you learn about this type of stuff, through therapy or through psychedelics. Mushrooms took me into my past, into my childhood a lot, and into my parents and my ancestors' childhoods, and it takes you on a vision quest to help you understand their side of the story, and in terms of in hopes of helping you resolve those type of angers and so on. And it makes sense when you learn about those things on psychedelics or therapy or parts work that, oh wow, these people that I was once angry at, they suffered too, they had trauma too. And just knowing that is helpful, but it's only just the beginning of your healing integration. So the getting back to the point of this spiel is that the magic starts to really happen is when you bring that kind of understanding to your actual day-to-day life and your communication. So me personally, I found that anger that I had even be directed at my bosses at work. Not all of them were I was angry at some men too, just angry in general. And for instance, the trauma and the wound would make me feel like my manager was trying to take advantage of me, manipulating me, and it made me really upset. But going and reflecting on these things, I still meditate every day, and if I had a hard interaction like I did a lot at work, I would meditate on it and write in my journal about it, like, wow, what they said was really rude, and it felt like they were taking advantage of me. And I did a lot of that. I still, from time to time, do. It's been about 10 years since I've been on this journey. I've come a long way, and I really viscerally have not gotten angry like that since I can even remember. It's been a few years at least, and it's nice because it helps me feel better. That's one important point too, is you're not just trying to resolve anger and trauma for the other person or just to forgive the other person or let them off, or no, it's also about you and you feeling better. And that's what many of us have already discovered. You can still have boundaries with these people and realize that they're probably not going to change, and that's okay, but just knowing that they're also a wounded person and arming yourself with that perspective, knowing that they don't know any better, they were probably taken advantage of as a kid, or they probably grew up with some weird trauma dynamics that we don't even understand. So it makes it so that in the moment of the interaction with that person at work or at home with your loved one or whatever, you have a little bit more preparation, a little bit more grace in the way that you communicated. And you can realize that maybe if they say something that sounds offensive, it's not really about you. It's just them with their own drama and trauma. Now, like I said, I would advise that you have careful boundaries with people that may be still unconsciously out harming others, because it's a careful thing of self-discovery that you've got to embark on to kind of dissect whether or not somebody is really intentionally being harmful to you, or is it just your trauma, your past experiences, making meanings of this in the future, and now seeing like every interaction that we have through that lens of trauma and fight or flight. So sometimes it's both. sometimes we still attract these kind of people into our life or stories into our life, maybe because we haven't fully integrated yet. And every time, it's not a linear journey, it's a cyclical one. So every time we face that, that boss or that demon, so to speak, in our life, or that archetype that reminds us of the pain that we went through, it's another chance to solidify and strengthen your new perspectives. I don't get angry at women anymore. I'm married and I'm in love and all that stuff. And no human is perfect. Of course, we're perfect in our imperfections. But it's just easier to navigate through life now, because in the moment, in the microsecond, when somebody says something, or maybe I feel something, I can realize right away that, oh wow, I'm just maybe tired today, and it's not really them being, it's just I'm getting irritated over little things, because maybe I didn't eat well for lunch or something, or sometimes people are still rude, and that doesn't always just go away once you start to feel more healed. But the thing is my communication is so much stronger. So at my job, sometimes I deal with very difficult people, just wounded people, yes, of course. But my job, I have a normal 9 to 5 job where I deal with some upset people sometimes, and it's not me anymore. I didn't. I'd always check myself and make sure I was as respectful and as skillful as possible in communicating with these people. But my communication is a lot stronger now. If they say something rude or abrasive, inflammatory, I'm very quick and strong now to say, hey, I didn't. I'm here to help you. I'll say we keep the conversation professional and constructive. Something that I'll say, and I'm not shaking inside anymore. They come at me, maybe with their anger and their frustrations, and I stay still. So that stillness has taken time and patience to cultivate. So this interaction with humans, this element of healing that I'm talking about today, these relational skills, they get sharper and stronger with practice, and they're complementary to the other type of integration tools. It's not a replacement for meditating. It's not a replacement for therapy. It's not a replacement for psychedelics or journey work. It's a complement. It's almost like things like psychedelics, journey work, therapy, parts work are almost like going to the university and studying, right? And then after the university, you go out and you get your job experience in the actual field. That's what the relational skills is seeming to be all about. It's your practice, it's experience. And when you get a job, most of the time they care more about your experience than your education. So why is that? It's because you're surrounding your senses, you're exposing your nervous system with these human interactions. You're getting in the ring and in the boxing match, and you're actually practicing now. You're practicing these perspectives. It's not just a mental thing or spiritual or emotional thing. Now it's a physical thing. It's the bit that I mentioned about exposing your nervous system. That's very real, because especially with trauma and pain, you can feel the rise. You can feel the trigger. You can notice those things well up. And every time that you interact with somebody in a higher way, in a way that's more integrated, in a way that's more resolution-oriented, more compassionate, more constructive, rather than the old victim and hero dynamic that we played over and over again, the more that your nervous system is reminded that everything's okay, I can actually take a deep breath now. It's just such a nice, as somebody who was, unable to maintain a good relationship, unable to maintain a good job, and now I have this level of grace with people, and it's a blessing and a half. And I don't think about how people bug me anymore. I don't. I just move through my day, and it's awesome. Meditating, like I said, in the morning and night, and writing my journal have helped. It's kind of like your playbook for your day, your playbook for your interactions with people. It helps you prepare. And if you look at your old journal writings, you can see patterns. So all that stuff, like I said, complementary to your relational skills. What I'm here to say is it is difficult interacting with humans. It's one of the most difficult, but also one of the most healing things. And I used to avoid people for a while because, especially new on my healing journey, the wound was just so raw. So there may be times where you may need to be a little bit more isolated, and times where you may be feeling like it's time to interact with others. So please don't be afraid of that. And a lot of people get afraid of relationships, or maybe just want to stay single forever. But I can tell you that your relationships can change as well. A lot of times there are parent dynamics from being a kid and our trauma. They replay into your relationships, your romantic relationships, and your work relationships especially. So what I'm here to say is, while those things are hard, please do not avoid them entirely forever. There will be a time where you will, I don't want to speak for everybody, for many, and if it's your choice to, you'll feel more prepared and ready to interact with others, and you'll know how to deal with these types of challenges. Eventually, the things that used to be a demon to you, or a beast for you to face, or something, is just, and it eventually won't even be something on your mind anymore, because you'll just be so, natural moving through these conversations and these challenges. So have perseverance, have faith that things can get better. That's a lot of it. Have faith in yourself. Human relationships can be so beautiful and marvelous. I thought I was going to be single forever before meeting my wife, but the pattern of my relationships have now changed as I've integrated all these. And no, the relationship wasn't just easy. It came with a lot of these, especially in the first couple of years, but we ended up by learning each other and knowing each other's quirks, so to speak. And it's an amazing experience. It's beautiful. So human interactions could be very painful, very difficult, but they could also be very healing and very blissful. And I'm just starting to form community again these days after a lot of years of being isolated while I was healing. So things that you never thought could happen, feelings that you never believe can be existent with others, can arise. So it's worth it. That's my goal of mentioning all that. It is worth working at this difficult human interaction stuff. So this is Louis Bento here, your integration pal. Take care, everybody. If you end up by liking this video, finding any value of it, please subscribe to the channel. It helps a ton. Peace.